Thank you very much. Let's take our seats. Asante sana. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Hamjambo. It's a privilege for me to be here at this point in time while undertaking a state visit to this great country. As you're all aware, the relationship between Kenya and China is 62 years old. In fact, it is documented that China was the 4th country to recognize Kenya as an independent state only 2 days after independence. And it speaks volumes. It speaks volumes of the strength and depth of the relationship between Kenya and China. My visit here underscores that solid foundation built over many years to cement the relationship between our country and China. As you are aware, China has been instrumental in matters, infrastructure, and general development in our country. We have built the standard gauge railway, 600 kilometers from Mombasa to Naivasha with a partnership of China. We have built the Lamu port that now has 3 berths that are complete with the support of China. We have built the Nairobi Expressway that today facilitates the journey from the airport to the CBD, a journey that sometimes would take up to 2.5 hours. Today, it takes between 10 and 15 minutes. And with China, we have also built the Thika superhighway, a piece of infrastructure that we have now extended from Thika to Kenol all the way to Maroa in Nyeri. And we are in discussion on many other aspects. I know many people here know that some of the roads to rural Kenya have been built with technology and companies supported by this country. And so we have a robust relationship between Kenya and China. And my visit this time round, being the first head of state to visit after the FOCAC meeting last year, speaks to the value China attaches to Kenya and the friendship that exists between our two countries. And we all know that there is a lot happening today globally. And sometimes people ask, and they ask me, is Kenya facing east to China, or is it facing west to the US? And I have answered that question that Kenya is neither facing east nor west. We are facing forward. And we want to build mutually beneficial win-win relationships with as many friends as possible. And my mission here this time round is to discuss, amongst many things, how we can invest in the future, not just of Kenya, but of our region, with support and partnership of friends like China and others. I have already had conversations on investment opportunities. Many people get worried that we are only discussing loans and credit and things like those. I want to tell you that we are becoming more innovative in how to finance development. There are new instruments that can enable us deliver on public infrastructure using private resources and technology. And that is the kind of conversation we are having with both the public and the private sector in China. We are having a conversation, for example, on how to develop the Rironi-Mau Summit Road, making that road a 6-lane piece of infrastructure from Nairobi to beyond Nakuru. That discussion is among the discussions we are having with both the public and private sector here. And it is my belief that we should be able to begin that construction between June and July this year and take it to its logical conclusion. Beyond Mau Summit, we should be able to take it all the way to the border in Malaba. That is the request I have from the people of Kenya, and we are actively working on it. We will also be concluding discussions on the development of road infrastructure. I was here last year, and we signed off on 2 billion RMB facility that will help us conclude some of the roads in Kenya. We will be discussing investments in other areas of water and how we can leverage the private sector to drive that development of infrastructure. That is why I have officials from the Ministry of Water here. We will be discussing interventions on connectivity between Kenya and China, discussing the connectivity in terms of direct flights between this country and Kenya. Very importantly, we will be discussing trade. As you are aware, we have trade that is growing between our two countries. In fact, statistics show that we are all the way to $8 billion of trade between Kenya and China. Our concern as Kenya is that that trade is not balanced. And it is the conversation we are having. And tomorrow, we will be signing a framework agreement on the economy and trade. And that framework agreement is going to give us the opportunity to discuss a bilateral trade agreement between Kenya and China. And I just had a meeting this afternoon with the Prime Minister, and he agreed with me that that trade needs to be balanced. As you are aware, Kenya is importing close to $4.5 billion of goods and services from China. And yet, we are exporting only about $200 or $250 million. I mean, in Kenya shillings terms, we are exporting about 30 billion shillings to China, and importing 600 billion shillings from China. That kind of relationship, we all agree, is not sustainable, is not balanced, and therefore needs a thorough conversation. It is one of the pertinent issues that I have come to sign off the agreement, because immediately we are going to discuss on how we can bring down the barriers on market access by Kenyan tea, Kenyan coffee, Kenyan macadamia, Kenyan avocado, and all other Kenyan products into this country. It is the most feasible way for us to balance trade. As you are all aware, our tea and coffee are premium products globally. In fact, Chinese companies admit that Kenyan tea and coffee is premium coffee, but today it is subjected to tariffs, and that is what impedes the export of our tea and coffee and macadamia and avocados to this country. And the discussion we are going to have is how we can have a preferential trade agreement that gives Kenya preferential access, the same way we have a AGOA that gives duty-free, quota-free access for our goods to the US. The discussion we're going to have is that of a duty-free, quota-free. I remember when I Willie Bet here, my assignment to him was we must open for our products. In fact, immediately we sign the framework agreement tomorrow, Lee Kinyanjui and team might remain behind to make sure that they progress the conversation towards a preferential trade agreement shortly. And so I am very happy to be in this great city, and I want to congratulate all of you, whether you are students or professionals or business people, for daring abroad and doing what you're doing in China, either sharpening your skills in schools, colleges, and universities, or you are deploying your knowledge and expertise in the professional space here in China, or those of you who are doing business. And when I ran for president, I did commit that I will have a diaspora department that will, whose business it will be to manage the affairs of Kenyans in diaspora, to respond to their issues, and to serve them so that we can better leverage on the expertise, the knowledge, the efforts of people in diaspora to drive the development of our country. I'm very happy with what Roslyn Jogu, my PS for Diaspora Affairs, working under PCS here, and him and his team with Isaiah here, and all the other members of that team will continuously work with the embassy staff to see to it that Kenyans in the diaspora are served as best as we can, just the same way we work for the rest of Kenyans at home. Finally, I am sure you are following on developments back home in terms of the implementation of our program and our plan. Just so that you know, our housing program is underway. We have close to 150,000 houses being built around Kenya. Majority of them will be ready this year. In fact, I will be handing over keys to the first 4,000 units next month, and it will be continuous. You now have an opportunity working in the diaspora to buy some of those housing units. You do not have to depend on your family members or your friends, who I am told occasionally run away with your money. You will now have a place to buy a house without any hassle. And the ministry responsible for housing will let you know how you can book for a unit online. You don't need to know anybody. You don't need any brokers. You don't need to see anybody. You can book a unit online. And somebody's going to tell you exactly how that is done shortly. To also tell you that I did commit that we are going to have a different savings culture. As you are aware, since independence, we have been paying a very small fraction for our social security. In fact, up to 2 years ago, we were paying 200 shillings for everybody to National Social Security Fund. And in 60 years, we only managed to save 320 billion shillings. In fact, we have a smaller social security, smaller than Tanzania and smaller than Uganda, yet we have a bigger economy. But I made the decision that we are going to change the regulations and the law governing savings in Kenya. Why? Because investment is a function of savings. You cannot invest if you don't have any savings. You have nothing to invest. And just for your information, China, savings in China is 55% of their GDP. In Kenya, we were at 8%, maybe 9%, maybe 10%. It is my intention to push savings as a percentage of GDP to between 25 and 30%. That is where a majority of countries are. And because of the changes we have made, the good news is that while we collected or saved 320 billion shillings for 60 years, in 2 years, we have doubled our savings, just in 2 years. By the end of this year, we will have 650 billion shillings saved because of the changes we have made. And by 2027, we will have 1 trillion saved. That is why I am not very popular with people who don't want to save. But for the people who want to save, they know what difference that is making. And that is how we are going to stop borrowing from other countries. We will be borrowing from our own savings to finance our own development. And if we must pay interest, let us pay interest to our own workforce in Kenya who are saving, instead of paying interest for, I don't want to mention countries where we are borrowing, where we are borrowing money. You know, the money we are borrowing from China, for example, is savings of the Chinese people, right? And do you know that we are paying interest, and we are not paying small money? Why would we not pay Kenyans who are saving? That's the question I ask. So I'm very happy with the progress that we are making, and progressively people are beginning to see the reality of some of the interventions we are undertaking. I am also sure that you are aware that we have reformed our funding of our education system. We have straightened the CPC program that your chairman talked about. In 2022, there was a very big debate as to the implementation of CBC and the direction it was going. Immediately I came into office, I set up a presidential task force that gave us a way forward. And in 2 years, we've hired a record 76,000 teachers to support that program. We have changed the funding model. Today, the 23 universities that were almost bankrupt, if you speak to the vice chancellors of those universities, they will tell you the new funding model. And I have one chancellor here, who is a member of the diaspora. This Chancellor of Cooperative University, he will tell you that that new funding model has made a whole difference in funding our universities and making sure that children, especially from poor backgrounds, get scholarships up to 90%, so that we give equal opportunity to all our children and that our education system leaves no child behind. You may also want to know that we have rolled out our universal health coverage program, commonly known as Taifa Care or SHA. And I was looking at the numbers last night. I get a report every evening at 10 p.m. And yesterday, 55,000 Kenyans registered. On average, every day, between 45 and 60,000 Kenyans register. For the first time, people who have never been on health insurance are experiencing health insurance. In the past, NHIF was reserved for people who were either salaried or they were in a position to pay. This time round, we have rolled out universal health coverage, a matter we have always wanted to do. I remember the NAC administration wanted to do it. And I remember we tried to do it under the Jubilee administration. And we couldn't manage. But I'm very proud that this time round, we took time, we changed, we created a legal framework. We took almost 2 years of planning, crafting the right framework, the right legislation, the right regulations. And today, I can proudly say that as opposed to NHIF, which had 7 million people registered. We now have 21 million Kenyans registered under SHA, and I am confident that we will get finally, with the registration that is going on now, we will finally get to universality on matters health. And the program gives everybody a chance. For those who can pay, you pay in accordance with your income. And for those who cannot pay, the government of Kenya will step in to pay for indigents and the people who do not, who cannot be able to pay. I am very happy with the progress that has been achieved. And you now from the diaspora can pay health insurance for your family members if you want to. You can, from the comfort of your office, you can register yourself. Members of your family can be registered. You can register your dependents. You can pay for them online, and you don't have to go to any office. Today, we have moved Matters Health to a digital platform. Imagine those, whenever you went to hospital, the doctor used to write on a piece of paper, and it graduated to an exercise book. Somebody had an exercise book the doctor wrote somewhere. We no longer have the exercise books. Now it is on a digital platform. You don't have to carry no exercise book. All you need to do is to go to a hospital, produce your ID, and your health record will be pulled from a digital platform. And the doctor will know which hospital you have gone to, what medicine you have been given, what is your health history, and they can take it up from there. We have also eliminated, using that digital platform, many quack doctors, fake hospitals, and many other fraudulent activities that informed our health infrastructure before. Because now it is not possible to treat anybody unless they are identified. There were incidences, for example, where one person was amputated 10 times in the old system because there was no health record, and it was easy to fraudulently make claims to NHIF. That is not possible anymore, because once you are identified that you are amputated twice, the system will not agree for you to be amputated again, because they will know that your limbs are finished. So we also had incidences of very small hospitals which were performing very many surgeries. That again has been brought under control. Unfortunately, there will be some casualties. There are many hospitals, private facilities, that will close down. Why? Because they were built on fake claims, which are no longer available. So we can only pay under this system for a service that has been provided. It is not possible anymore to make any fake claims. And so we are making steady progress, and I am confident with the transformation that Kenya is going through. Let me finalize by saying we are transforming our agricultural sector. You remember in 2022, We had many people in the streets of Nairobi with sufurias on top of their heads because unga was 240 shillings, that kind of thing. We have since reorganized that space and working with farmers with clarity of intervention, making sure that we don't subsidize consumption, as I said, but instead we support production. The reason why today the prices of unga have significantly come down from 230, now we are talking of 130, 140 shillings. Sometimes it comes down to 100, and I'm very happy with the progress that we have achieved in that space. Today, if you ask, because of the reform we have carried out in the agricultural sector, milk that was retailing at 35, 38 shillings, we now have standardized milk prices at 50 shillings to the farmer. Coffee that was selling at 50 shillings a kilo, if you check from your members of your families, this year we had the best prices of coffee because we supported farmers with fertilizer, and we have removed cartels, people who were farmers, brokers, millers, and buyers at the same time. And they significantly undermined the whole coffee sector. Today, coffee that was retailing at 50 shillings, 60 shillings a kilo, on average, is 110 to 140 shillings a kilo. And if any one of you is a coffee farmer, you will bear me witness. This year, last year again, we made huge progress with our tea. The year before, our total earnings from tea was 170 billion shillings. Last year, it moved all the way to 215 billion, the highest in Kenya's history. Again, because of favorable weather and because of the investments we made in promoting production of our tea sector. We have just concluded, for those of you who come from the sugar belt, the notorious sugar problem that has been with us for 30, 40 years. We've just concluded the reform of that sector. And for those of you who follow Kenyan news, the cartel in that sector was so vicious that I had to tell them, mambo ni matatu. And ever since I told them mambo ni matatu, now we have concluded the reform of that sector. And my intention is that, like the other sectors, the sugar sector that has suffered for many years, we are now going, the factories will now be able to pay farmers on time, pay workers on time, and for the first time, pay bonus to sugarcane farmers. The first factory did that last year. That is Mumias. And this year, we have concluded the reform process of Chemelil, Miwani, Mohoroni, Soni, and so on. And by the end of this year, you will see a very big difference. Just because of the interventions we made. Last year, contrary to what we have done all the years, we imported very little sugar. And in the next 2 to 3 years, Kenya will be a sugar exporting country. because of the interventions we made, 200,000 acres of new land was put under sugar production, because farmers can now see that there is seriousness in the sugar sector. So this is the interventions we are making as a government. We are pulling our country in the right direction, and I am very confident that Kenya is going to be a better place for all of us. We must consistently, persistently work together towards making Kenya this great country that we all want it to be. It is not going to happen overnight. It is not going to be easy, but it is worth all our effort to make it work. I have every intention to make it work. And I am committed to transforming this, our country. And I want to tell you, failure is not an option. It is not an option. We are going to make our country great because we have all the ingredients to make it happen. We have a hardworking population. We have the resources that we need, and we have the commitment to match what we require to push our country forward. I invite you, as Kenyans in diaspora, to work with us, to leverage on all the possibilities that exist for us to forge a collaboration, a coalition of making our country succeed. The media will not stop us. The social media will not stop us. The naysayers will not stop us. Kenya must succeed. Do you understand? We have no option. We have to succeed. So I just want to tell you that that is the way to the future. So asanteni sana. I don't want to make this a lecture. You know, I'm also a scholar, so sometimes I get tempted to speak. So let me leave it there, maybe pick up some ideas from you guys on what your thoughts are and where you think we can do better for the progress of our country. Thank you very much. God bless you. And it is my pleasure to speak to you. Asanteni sana. Okay. I'm informed that there is another meeting. Eh? I have 30 minutes here. Okay. I have 30 minutes because there is another virtual meeting with the Secretary General of the UN on matters of peace and security in our region. And you know, we have security men supporting our brothers and sisters in Haiti and all the other issues that are regional in nature. So I will take a few questions from this great audience.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, and the esteemed First Lady, Mama Rachel Ruto, we want to thank you so much for this great honor to engage with the diaspora in China. As you can see,